Hello, my name is Aisling Wilder, and for the next few moments at least, I will be reading to you from my recently released novel, Blood and Sand, the First Book of Rue. I will be reading an excerpt from a chapter entitled Death, and in this chapter, Lilitu, the mother character to my main character, Rue, is bathing her and explaining to her some of the details, at least, of her new life. You are hungry. You will hunger more for a while yet, for you are newly made and need to feed more often. As you age, your hunger may ease, some, but you will always need blood. Do not worry, the others will bring more to you, soon. She finishes bathing me, washing and oiling my hair, and then stands me up, rinsing me off with scented water, helping me out of the bath and wiping me dry with a fresh cloth. There are soft new linens of indigo and white laid out on a table nearby. She dresses me in these with great care and then brushes out my hair, leaving it to fall loose and curling to my hips. Then she turns me to face a gleaming mirror of polished copper. Now, child, look and see what you have become. Lifting my head to gaze upon my reflection, I gasp. My skin is pure and soft and without blemish. My hair is black as moonless night, falling about my shoulders in shimmering waves, smooth as silk. And my eyes. I take a step closer to the mirror, touching my cheek and staring in disbelief, for their usual blue has now become a shimmering silver incandescence, as if something other is radiating from within. I turn to Lilitu, and she nods again. That is your hunger and emotion raging within you. Your eyes will always betray what you are, what you feel. Their light will calm when you do. In time, you will learn control. I gaze again at my reflection, amazed. Lilitu lets me stare for a few more moments, and then she takes my hand, pulling me away. Come, you will become used to yourself. The others will return soon. She guides me back up, through yet another painted corridor, and up again through a maze of stairs and passages to a chamber that is nearer to the earth above. This one, however, is bare, unlike those more richly decorated below. There are several openings in the ceiling through which moonlight streams down, lighting my surroundings as clearly as if it were day. I stare at the patterns in the stone, at the glistening grains of sand on the ground, amazed at each intricate detail, at the scope of all I can now behold. Soon enough, I hear a sound from above, and upon its heels I catch a scent that makes the hunger inside wake and ache with need. All distraction at the beauty of my surroundings flies away as unbidden I feel a pang again in my jaw and an echo of it ripple within my gut, so sharp I gasp and clutch at my abdomen. Then two of the others, Ayar and Nakir, return, dragging with them two struggling prisoners, men of the enemy. The scent of their blood and fear is overwhelming. The thirst within rises and turns outwards as the others let the men go in the center of the room. Snarling, I leap upon the first of them, crushing him down against the floor. He screams and keeps on screaming as I yank his head back by his braided hair. He thrashes beneath me, but it is the impotent struggling of a small child. I can clearly mark the map of his blood beneath his skin, and without hesitation, I sink my fangs into his throat, into the place where the flow is the strongest. His screams become a wet gargle, then ragged gasps, then silence, as his life's blood spills into my mouth like the darkest, sweetest wine. I moan with the pleasure of desperate need quenched, pulling him close as I drink in great, near choking draughts. Someone else is screaming and crying nearby, and I am vaguely aware that the others have gone, leaving me alone with my prey, but I do not care. All I know is this: hunger, thirst, and release. Again, a flood of sensation spills into me as I drink, and this time I recognize it for what it is: my prey's dying emotions. I shudder with each wave and drink until there is no more to drink. Then I lift my head, licking my lips as I let his rapidly cooling body drop to the floor. Standing up, I look across the chamber at the other man. He has stopped screaming and now is breathing raggedly, his eyes wide and staring into the darkness. He is clutching at a small silver amulet tight to his chest and whimpering a prayer over and over. I move closer to him, the hunger within me easing enough to let me consider him for a moment and to note him for what he is: a man boy, old enough to fight, but not yet old enough to grow a beard. I step even closer, close enough to let him see me, and his prayers become gasping sobs. Falling to his knees in terror, he begs in his own rough tongue for his life. He calls upon his gods, and then when they do not answer, he calls upon me, naming me goddess, begging for my mercy. Tipping my head to one side, I lean down and lift him up. His weight is nothing to me. He meets my eyes, and his own widen in horror, his sobs and pleas growing louder. His terror drives his heart, and it beats like a drum in his chest. That sweet sound sends a thrill of want through my body. I put my finger to his lips, smiling to comfort him. Shh. I pull him into my arms where he clings to me, sobbing like a babe. I brush his hair back with my hand as I hold him to my breast, and then I lean in and sink my fangs deep into his throat. He gasps, tenses, and then goes limp with a quivering sigh. Slowly, more sweetly this time, I drink his life, the sanguine flood flowing into me as I sink to my knees with him in my arms. This time, I pay attention to the feelings born in his blood, fleeting phantoms of fear and hope, love and loss, and finally, of bliss. After a few minutes, his heart shudders in his breast, its frantic beating fading and failing until my own heartbeat is all I can hear. Only then do I pull away, gently laying him on the floor of the chamber. I watch as he dies. Then I take his amulet from him, balancing the cold silver in my now warm hand as I look to see what god it was the boy prayed to in vain. A shudder passes over me then as I recognize the seal of Enki, god of life, giver of gifts, the first conduit between gods and men, the first to give their word to the priesthood, to men and women like me, only not like me, for I am no longer me. I will no longer give to my people anything. Tears spill down my cheeks and a sob escapes my lips, followed by another and another until I choke on the rushing flood of grief. I look again to the young man, his form seeming to shrink as his soul sinks into the land of the winged dead. Dead by my hand. Dead like my mother, murdered, her life torn from her as mine has been torn from me, as I have taken the young man's life from him. Is this then what I have become? No longer one who gives, but one who takes? A shudder, sobs ripping through me, anguish rising like a tide in my mind, so that I cannot think for sorrow until I can no longer hold it within, and so lift my head and release a cry that rebounds around the chamber, echoing around me as I clutch the amulet so hard in my hand it hurts. The God of life will hear no prayers for or against me, for I have become death. Thank you.